everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com back again with another batch of wrestling news. Lots to talk about in this video. Check out Tom's video earlier today as well if you want to catch up on more wrestling news. But for now, let's get into those headlines. First of all, a prominent tag team on the Raw brand have split up. Next up, a WWE Superstar has revealed that they have been working whilst injured recently. And finally, a WWE Hall of Famer has been announced for the next Jericho cruise. So yes, let's start off with this news courtesy of PW Insider, who say that they've received confirmation that a Raw tag team has split up. And the tag team in question is Andrade and Angel Garza. Now, in fairness, they did appear to have split up. Obviously, they brawled backstage recently, but then they were aligned once again. And then, obviously, Andrade has got on the mic and ran down both Garza and Zelina Vega. So nobody really knew what on earth was going on. And I think we would have already taken this to mean they'd split up had it not been for goings on elsewhere in the Raw tag team division, because with other teams, everything seemed a little bit uncertain, and it was almost like the stories were being told in a jumbled up order. So in the case of Andrade and Angel Garza, as I've just mentioned, they brawled, then they were back together, then they argued, and now apparently they have split up for real, but it all got a bit incoherent, especially when you consider that in conjunction with other tag teams at the same time. So for example, out of nowhere, the Iconics lost that losing team must disband match to the Riot Squad, but then wrestled each other, appeared together on Raw Underground in the crowd. Peyton seemed to turn on Billy and throw her into the ring, but then later on they were supporting each other for their singles matches. That was a strange one. And also as well, I think in a more similar vein to the Andrade and Angel Garza stuff, you've got Seth Rollins and Murphy, who, well, first it appeared like Rollins was beating Murphy down every week. It seemed like it was going to end at any moment. Then they were aligned again for no real reason. There's been several teasers of a breakup. Now it seems like Murphy has finally turned on Rollins this week on Raw. But I mean, anybody was unaware what was going on. It was anybody's guess, is what I'm trying to say. So with those stories as well, the Iconics and Rollins and Murphy, you kind of can't predict what's going to happen with Andrade and Angel. So thank you to PW Insider for getting the inside scoop and revealing that apparently, yes, they have actually broken up. That team is confirmed to be no more. Now, of course, Garza has recently been off TV dealing with an injury in that match that was then, stopped early because of it at Night of Champions against the Street Profits. So we haven't really been able to see any sort of split play out between the two. It remains to be seen whether when Garza returns they'll have more interactions with each other or whether they'll just go their separate ways. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see until Angel Garza, comes back from injury. And of course we're wishing him a full and speedy recovery. Next up, Riddick Moss took to Instagram recently and basically, in a very braggadocious post, revealed quite a worrying thing, that he has apparently been working with a torn ACL recently. So Moss put this on Instagram. Over the past 2 months, Riddick Moss, i.e. himself, has gone undefeated in both Raw Underground and the WWE Thunderdome, showing elite power, speed, agility and explosion. Obviously, some of this is in character. While training, I've squatted 500, deadlifted 600 and broad jumped over 10 inches. I've done all of this with, 10 feet, sorry, 10 feet surely, yeah, over 10 feet. I've done all of this with a torn ACL. When you have such high expectations of yourself, it's hard to exceed them, but damn, even I was impressed with Riddy Mo, that's not me being me, that's what he's put, Riddy Mo on this one, 100% real talk. I don't know of anyone I don't know of anyone else who could have done all of this. I'm everything I've said I am. Best athlete in the industry, baddest mofo on the show, and a true outlier. He goes on to say, it speaks to my unmatched training, world-class athleticism, and extraordinary toughness. In other words, it's a testament to the Riddick regimen. And if you didn't already believe in the regimen, just wait until you see this comeback. Now, first of all, if this is true, and he has had a torn ACL and has been working on it recently, first of all, why? What are you doing? And secondly, I hope you recover really quickly and well, because that's quite scary. But secondly, God, he thinks quite a lot of himself, doesn't he? does Riddy Mo. That whole paragraph, I'm hoping, was in character, because otherwise, I mean, it's good to believe in yourself, but it was incredibly braggadocious, wasn't it? But yeah, the most important thing is that if this injury is true, then, hopefully he's taking the correct steps to recover and not working on it anymore. The other thing I'm thinking is, I hope WWE didn't know about this injury. First of all, how did they not pick up on it if it was a torn ACL? How did he hide that from them? And secondly, if they did know about it, what on earth were they doing putting him in matches, regardless of whether it was actually in the ring or in the slightly more pre-produced environment of Raw Underground? I still don't think it's a wise decision. So either Moss is exaggerating, which, I hope he's not, but I hope he's on the road to recovery, or he's been allowed to compete somehow on a torn ACL, which again, the more I say it, the more crazy it sounds. Maybe his very uber confident words are true, because I don't know of anybody who could have done that. And if Rick Moss doesn't know anybody either, then fair enough. Next up, let's get an update on the next Chris Jericho Rock and Wrestling Rage, the Jericho Cruise. We all know and love it. We saw an episode of Dynamite filmed on the cruise ship recently. It's always a big and unique attraction in the world of wrestling. Now, of course, I don't know how likely this cruise is to go ahead given the current global situation, but should it go ahead, the cruise has announced a WWE Hall of Famer to be in attendance. So this is what the official Jericho Cruise account had to say on Twitter. One of the all-time greats to ever step foot in the ring, Kurt Angle is an Olympic gold medal winner, multiple-time world champion, and has been inducted into both the TNA and WWE Halls of Fame. We are honoured to have him join the Rager at Sea. That's a big deal, isn't it? Kurt Angle as a guest on the cruise ship, that's a huge one, and you have to assume that if they film another episode of Dynamite on there, they're probably going to want to try and talk Kurt Angle into doing something on the show. Probably not wrestle, of course, but maybe get involved in some capacity, maybe as an authority figure or a special guest, or he'll probably walk Cody down to the ring because all the legends always walk Cody down to the ring. But regardless of what he ends up doing, I'm absolutely 100% positive that surely AEW will be pulling Kurt's leg and saying, come on, let's get you involved with what's going on Dynamite. Or maybe they will. Maybe they're not doing that quite yet, but maybe they will if the cruise does indeed go ahead as the day gets nearer and nearer. The guest lineup is currently as follows. So we've just recently obviously got Kurt Angle confirmed, Ted DiBiase as well, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and Bully Ray. And Dean Malenko, he was on the next page and I scrolled down. And Dean Malenko, so Angle, DiBiase, Duggan, Ray, and Dean Malenko. The cruise is currently scheduled for October 2021, so it's a whole 12 months away, October 21st to 25th to be precise. So, I mean, it's anybody's guess what the world's going to look like by that point. Hopefully it goes ahead, not just because it's quite a unique and cool wrestling event every year, but also because if it does go ahead, that probably means that life is kind of returning back to normal. So quite selfish reasons there for me wanting it to go ahead, but I don't care. Next up, Tom Campbell sent me a news story today, which I've included in this news video because it is relevant and it is quite different, but at the same time, it involved one of the single worst pieces of media I've ever seen. I don't know whether it was just because I was tired, because I'd just woken up and it was the first thing I did today in my working day was watch this thing. It felt like sensory overload and I didn't quite know what was going on and I was scared. So basically, fans of the UFC or just MMA in general will have heard of Ben Askren. He's the man who infamously now was the victim of, I think, the quickest ever knockout in UFC history at the hands of George Masvidal, a big running knee just in the opening seconds of the fight. But Askren as well is like an elite level amateur wrestler too, and he was recently seen on his own kind of podcast show that he does in the Performance Center. Now, Askren is not only known as a really good fighter, but also a really good promo, charisma, sort of trash talker type guy, in the vein of, I guess, someone like Chael Sonnen. He is very much kind of, a pro wrestler-y type MMA fighter for his levels of being able to hype a fight. So there's the background. Askren was, okay, so the link that Tom sent me was to Ben Askren, and he received a tip off about this from, I can't remember who, unfortunately, but somebody tweeted it to him or DM'd him or something. So thank you very much for that. So basically, it's Ben Askren's cryptocurrency podcast, and in the background of his webcam, he's in the Performance Center, right? I'm not making it up. It's episode 42 of the Funky Crypto Pod. And just right at the start, before they start talking about Bitcoin and everything, you can see Ben Askren there. In the background, there's like wrestling posters framed on the walls, and his co-host, who can barely string a sentence together, says, "Oh, where are you, bro? What's going on?" And he's like, "I'm just in Florida, dude." And he's like, "Florida? What could you be, Florida?" That's word for word like what he said. He can't string a sentence together. Ben Askren's like, "Well, I can't say, I can't say." You can see a poster for Bayley and Sasha Banks in the background over his shoulder. And the guy says, "Well, everybody, Google Florida and see what's in Florida, and maybe that'll give you a clue." Google Florida. I thought I'd lost brain cells watching this. I don't know why it's offended me so much, I'm so sorry, but also it was produced really terribly. The intro, the music was way too loud, you couldn't hear what was being said at first. And then there's a countdown to the start of the podcast, and as the countdown hits 0, this woman pops up and goes, I think she's a British girl, she goes, "Hello, welcome to the cryptocurrency pod," but you can't hear what she's saying because of the friggin' music, and then she disappears, and that's it, that's her job. Just one intro. I hope she got paid a decent amount of commission for that, because you really hate to see somebody, anybody associated with this type of garbage production. I'm sorry, this is really going in on the Ben Askren cryptocurrency podcast. It was so badly made. Anyway, maybe I just woke up on the wrong side of the bed. Ben Askren in the Performance Center, right? What could it mean? Could he be there teaching people how to amateur wrestle to make their matches more realistic? That is my guess. He could also be there potentially to get involved with WWE in some capacity. I don't know. Because he's got a background in not only amateur wrestling, but amateur wrestling coaching as well, I would hazard a guess that that's probably why. But at the same time, you never know. As I mentioned, he's a charismatic guy, he's a good talker. Maybe he's there to get involved in a more hands-on role. I'd just like to apologize to everybody associated with Ben Askren's cryptocurrency podcast for really getting quite angry just before. So sorry. So lots of stuff there. Thank you very much for watching this. I've been Jack from Cultaholic.com. Leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments section down below. Stay safe out there. Stay positive. Don't watch the funky crypto podcast, and I'll see you very soon.